Hello and welcome to another brand new episode of Today in the News, and of course it's good to be here this morning. My name is Precious Chukudi and I'll be taking the front pages of the papers as well as the newspaper analysis segment. I'll be starting off with Vanguard, and the main headlines for Vanguard is insecurity, protests in Abuja, Lagos, Ondo, Osogbo. We have the rioters, protesters lament state of nation, want insecurity, unemployment tackled, 100 hashtag revolution now, protesters arrested, released, protesters arrested for flouting COVID-19 protocols in FCT Lagos police, security men locked down Kano against protesters, protests too small to react to presidency source. And on the COVID-19 updates, we have Lagos records 137 new infections as confirmed cases rise to 44,890. You can see more on page 27. And stories above, we have Edo government on autopilot, APC campaign council, Obaseki's administration remains robust, aid. Edo assembly impeaches deputy speaker. You can see that story on pages 14 and 25, and on page 13 we have 2023 we will back IPOB to actualize Biafra if. On page 14 we have MTN 6 to sell $243 million stake in Jumia's technology. And stories beneath, we have probe Senate queries more expenditure by NDDC's IMC. You can see that story on page 12 and page 7. We have EFCC will give you fair hearing, Salami tells Mago. And of course, we have photo stories of protesters showing in Abuja, Lagos, Ondo, and in Osogbo. Also on page 11, we have Lagos reviews 2018 land use charge. And that's all we have on the front page of the Vanguard. We move straight to the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper, we have main headlines: high debt profile, stop borrowing, tackle mass killings, hashtag revolution now tells Buhari. The rioters, 91 protesters arrested in Abuja, Lagos, Abeokuta, Osogbo. Politicians can loot serial Chinese loans, movement warns. Also, there's a photo story of protesters. And stories above, we have marginalization, Yakasai backs returns to parliamentary system on page 16. On page 10, Rep summons Amechi, Ahmed, DMODG, others over Chinese loan. Away from the Punch, we move straight to the Guardian, and main headlines: uncertainty rules fuel pump price. Also, we have Oshibajo assures Nigerians of access to coronavirus vaccine. You can see that story on page 3. Away from the Guardian, we move straight to the Nation. And on the Nation, we have main headline: Zulum governors await Buhari's response on attack. Riders, we have Masari takes a banditry case to Villa. 12 fighter jets coming for Air Force. Also, we have on page 25, pilots issued 2-week strike notice. Union angry over sack. And that's all we can take on the front page of the paper. We're going to the newspaper analysis segment where we have guests in this who is going to be joining us via Zoom. He is in the person of Adegbenro Adebayo, the former editor of with Tel Magazine and information and communication specialist. He'll be joining us soon after the break. We'll be right back.
People, Nigeria is currently in a state of emergency. Our country has been reduced to a surrender situation, and we cannot continue like this. And this is the reason why we all have come out today. We've shown our displeasure to let the Nigerian government understand that there's a need for us to have sincere change. If you have a government who has its neck well screwed on its shoulder, if you have a government that is serious about the welfare of the people, by now the service chiefs would have been removed. By now, a lot of things would have been overhauled in this country. Today we are concerned that a lot of our young people go to tertiary institutions, they graduate and join colony of unemployed because there's no job for them. You see a lot of people, there's a lot of criminality all over the place. This is because we have irresponsible.
Alright, welcome back, and if you're just still joining, it's still Today in the News. I am Precious Chukudi, and we're now down to the newspaper analysis segment, where I'm joined in via Zoom with a guest. He's in the person of Adegbenro Adebayo, former editor of Retail Magazine, Information and Communication Specialist. Good morning, sir. You're welcome.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here.
Good to be with you too.
Alright, so let's just go straight into the matters of this morning, and we're talking about the protest in Abuja, Lagos, and Ondo, Osogbo. We saw it's been 1 year after the #Revolution Now protest, and there were a series of protests in many cities of Nigeria, leading to clashes between demonstrators and security agents. What are your thoughts on the protest mishap?
Of democracy is the freedom to express yourself within the ambit of the law. And I want to commend the organizers of the Revolution Now protest. They conducted themselves very well, and I think that the security agents were a little bit panicky, and some of the way they dealt with the protesters, we would say, was like a throwback to the military era. However, towards the evening, there were some shooting words from the Commissioner of Police, especially in Abuja, who now said that those who have been arrested will be released. I think what we should note is that when you do not allow people to express their feelings over some actions, there are bound to be violent in the land. So my appeal to the agents and those who would live is to listen. And when you look at what some of the key points and demands of the protesters, the key point for now is that the killings in the land, something should be done about it. I don't think anybody should quarrel with such a demand.
All right. Also, there were reports that some of the protesters were arrested as a result of not following the COVID-19 guidelines. What's your take on that regard?
I like to say that is not the reasons why we were arrested. For instance, we've listened to the report of one of the protesters having her hair shaved forcefully by a member of the security forces in Lagos. I think that going forward, the protesters should know some of the things the security agents are saying. They should ensure that they conduct themselves relatively peacefully, and that they pay cadence to the protocols guiding COVID-19, so that there will be no excuse whatsoever. The excuse of they have been arrested on the grounds for violating COVID-19 protocol is mere red herring. Just want to say something so that you will be justified. I don't think. In the last few days, there have been congregation of politicians in Edo and Ondo State. There have been no arrest of people in spite of the total disregard for COVID-19 protocols. So why should you then arrest people? Some of them were just in their 20s. They were just about 20. There was no crowd for me, and the arrest cannot be justified under any guise.
So do you think that the protest is a small protest for the presidency to react to?
What is important is that the message is being sent to the presidency that some of us are very, very uncomfortable with the killings, especially with the subjects of killings in southern Kaduna. And I think that the fact that the president also summoned the leadership of the Defense Force on Monday is an indication that he knows he's giving the heat. But it's not enough to just summon them. What is important is that we want concrete actions. The lives of every Nigeria matters. Every Nigerian, their lives matter. You see, one of the key deliverables of every government is the preservation of lives and property of the citizenry. And that is more important than any other thing. It is after your life has been preserved that we can now begin to talk about good roads. So if you fail in terms of preserving the lives of your citizens, your failure is major. I hope that the government, the defense forces, they are listening and they will do something to put a stop to the unwarranted loss of human lives, not just in Southern Canada, but in other parts of the country.
All right, Serap has condemned, the police action towards the protesters, and we see this, happen, on a regular basis where people go out to protest, and then all of a sudden, it's being hijacked because of, there's, they're like pepper sprays and whatnot going on around there, and people they're arrested, saying, things like this happen. What do you think would be the best form of approach for situations like this?
In other climes where we talk about farm democracies, naturally there will be altercation between the security forces and protesters. But when it gets to the point of visiting them with physical harm deliberately, then it cannot be justified. I think going forward, what the security forces should be ensuring is that the protesters do not go beyond what they have said they want to do. And from all indications over time, when you begin to shoot tear gas, when you begin to, in guise of saying that you want to, some persons have hijacked the protest, it is the duty of the security forces to ensure that the protests are not hijacked by hoodlums. Indeed, why security forces accompany protesters in other climes is to ensure that the protest is not hijacked. So the first thing that the security forces should do is that they should ensure that the protests are not hijacked by hoodlums. And then protesters themselves, there must be a form of identification going forward. There must be a form of identification so that we know those who are actually protesters and those who want to hijack it to do some other things.
All right, let's look at the NDDC, probe. And the Senate has, raised the alarm over the 1.121 billion naira spent by NDDC in public communication, and that's after the expenditure records for public communication was put at 2.1 billion naira in the report of the Accountant General of the Federation and the Central Bank of Nigeria. What are your thoughts on these anomalies?
What is happening in the NDDC is condemnable, because NDDC was not set up to embark on public communication. NDDC, as the name implies, is the development of the Niger Delta region. Now, when you now begin to such an humongous amount of money on public communication in a single day, because I've also read the report from the Senate. Indeed, the expenditure, a large chunk of the expenditure was done on March 16, 2020 for public communication. It is not defendable. The Niger Delta Commission is set up to ensure that that region is developed. Roads, critical infrastructure, schools, water, and cleansing of the environment. So, between us, let's just be very clear about it. Let's call it spade a spade. That is corruption. There is no other name to it. And what is also important is that we begin to ensure that those who have looted, as it were, our patrimony, the patrimony of the Niger Delta people, should be made to return it. And then those looted funds should now be plowed back to where they should go to. The schools, the water. We see some of the water these people drink. It is not, when you begin to look at the environment where this oil is taken from and what they are getting in terms of schools, in terms of water, it is very, very bad. So let it be said by all that this is the time we should get to the root of the matter. Some persons said, even during the lockdown, that they went on, they got humongous amount of money for medical allowance. Somebody gets 140 million for medical allowance during narrative did not get to the people. Now you are telling us that you use 1.1 billion for public communications. Let them tell us who they were communicating with and to what extent.
All right, a lot of people have been calling for the sack of the Honorable Minister Akpabio without further delay to forestall the impending looming crisis in the NDDC. In your own opinion, is this a good approach?
To sack him, ordinarily when you want to investigate a person who is holding a public office, it's important to ask the person to step aside. I don't think he should be sacked now. He should be suspended so that we can call him to begin to tell us what has gone wrong under his watch. What is important is that a lot of things are gone on, and that the principal actors must be made to account. You see, it is not enough to just say that I give a contract to this, I give contract to that. What is important is that you must account. You are the minister of the Niger Delta, and so many things have gone wrong under your watch. You must be held accountable. Nigerians want to tell us the truth and nothing but the truth. Suspension for now, and after indictment, maybe sack. We must, in spite of the fact that I want to get to the root of the matter, it's also important for us to follow the constitutional processes in ensuring that nobody is unduly punished. But what is important is that the man must step aside for an in-depth and unfettered investigation into the affairs of the Niger Delta. What is also very painful is that even the auditing process, there were abuses of the auditing process. You said you wanted to do auditing and you are spending such an humongous amount of money to audit, and we cannot even get anything from the auditing process.
All right, do you think that this forensic auditing process would unearth those, behind this whole NDDC corruption scandal?
You see, like I said, when you are talking about auditing, independent auditing, and when you say something is forensic, it means that everything will be laid there, but that is not the case. Indeed, it's in the process of manipulating the forensic audit process that we now are unearthing a lot of corruption that appears to be systemic. This is not the corruption in the Niger Delta Development Commission and the ministry is not an aberration. It's not something one-off. It is systemic. It permits the whole structure. So when you're talking about forensic, I don't think that the people who have set up the forensic auditing are not in a position to carry it out. Even with what we are hearing about some level of indictment, I think is important now. It's an independent auditing process. But we have independent auditors in Nigeria, and if they are called in, I think they will do due diligence.
All right, let's just look at this IPOB to actualize Biafra, and according to Senator Okon, he says that Nigeria will break up if the North refers South presidency in 2023. What are your thoughts on that one?
Let's say that nobody will say the presidency to you the pattern of good, and that when I was in TEL, the first edition of TEL magazine, I think that should be about April 1991. The cover story was the presidency, North versus.
Hello, Mr. Adebayo. Hello.
So the man is right. Those who are arguing for the perpetration of northern rule in the presidency are right. Those who are arguing for a return of the presidency to the south are also right. The two of you should marshal your point. But what is important is that when people talk about equity, fairness, and spread, this presidency should return to the south in 2023. That is fairness, that is equity, and that is when you want to clear political Even when you want to appoint people, you talk about actually the Federal Character Commission. I think that the Federal Character Commission, the Federal Character, should also reflect in the presidency.
So are you saying?
So you should also do it in the presidency.
Okay, so are you saying that we should be looking at rotational presidency and not for competency?
Let me say this. If you do rotational presidency, there are enough competent people in all the regions of Nigeria. So I don't buy the idea of we should place competence over equity. What is important is that if it is the turn of the South, let the South now use competence to decide who gets it from the South. If it's the turn of the North, let the North use equity to decide who gets it from the North. So the idea of now talking about competence over equity is sophistry. It doesn't gel, it doesn't work. Even if you are going to do rotational presidency based on geopolitical zone, every geopolitical zone in Nigeria have competent. Where did the current president of African Development Bank come from? Is it not from the South? Where did the late President Yarata come from? Is it not from the North? So there are competent people in all sectors of the economy, in all parts of the country. There must be a balance between equity and balance in the presidency. Equity and competence should be balanced to produce the best presidency. But every Nigerian, every section should have a sense of belonging. No region should monopolize the presidency.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adebayo Adegbenru. Thank you for joining us this morning. Okay, Adebanjo. Okay, thank you very much. Former editor with Tell Magazine, information and communications specialist. Thank you for joining us this morning.
You are welcome. You did a great job in the Vanguard.
Thank you very much, sir. And alright, you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. And if you want to find out more of our top stories, you can go right now on our website www.vanguardngr.com. Till I come your way next time, I remain Precious Chukwudi. Thank you for watching.